Welcome and thank you for joining me again for another Wool Gatherings podcast, where I tell true stories about encounters in my life and memories that I have while being here on this planet for 86 years. Miss, what time is it? I turned my head to see sitting at the next table an LSU ball cap fitted snugly on the top of a graying senior sipping his Starbucks. It was the day before Thanksgiving and the perfect place to hide while my family shopped in the mega retailer Target. In all honesty, had this stranger not spoken to me, I would have sat there completely happy, selfishly immersed in my own cafe latte, fascinated by Nashvillians, fixated on buying early for Christmas. I had come to Nashville to have the holidays with my son and his family. I'm waiting for my wife and daughter to finish walking the stores. I've had a bad hip, so I'm waiting them out, he chuckled. Forgot my watch. I gave him the time. You from Nashville, he said. No, visiting my son here. I'm from New Jersey. I honestly was not in the mood to chat with this LSU ball cap. How about that Sandy? Did you get hit, he asked. Well, I knew he was talking about the Hurricane Sandy that had just passed a few months back. No, our house is 26 feet on a cliff above the water. Luckier than most. I returned to my latte, hoping that he would get the message. In Louisiana, we get hurricanes and tornadoes. My mother used to call us in and get us all dressed up when one was coming. He paused. After that, we kids would just sit there in the house and wait. Wait until she told us it was over. Well, didn't you have a root cellar or anything? I asked, because I remember my grandparents in Ohio always had a root cellar. My interest in him was beginning to peak, visualizing such an absurd scene of kids sitting all around dressed in their Sunday best. Nope. My mother went through hurricanes in 1916 and she lost folks. We knew in case the tornado came, in case we died, we would all look nice. Well, I was hooked. Really? I mean, you weren't afraid if you thought that? I mean, if she thought that you all might die? Oh, I can't say. Maybe. But I was young and lived on a farm in Louisiana. Things around me were dying all the time. So, just was our way. Accepting. Until I got older and went to Korea. His voice trailed off as he swizzled his coffee. Korea? Well, my late husband served in that war, though he was stationed in Germany. He had easy duty. He was in the SO and USO, and he drove for the generals. I mean, I think that's all he did. Of course, he was homesick while being over there. Yeah, well, I was in the heart of it. For me, there were really two wars going on. I was curious. The Civil War and the Korean one. I was only 3 months married when I was drafted, and I was the only South boy in my barracks. I brought two things with me, a picture of my wife and a small Confederate flag. Two things that were important to this Louisiana country boy. He chuckled a bit. Well, that flag gave me a hell of a time the minute them northern boys knew I had it. I heard the talking and the whispering at night, how they were going to get it and beat me at the same time. The Civil War was still alive. They pushed me around. I had a few fights, but They never got my flag, and it went all the way with me to Korea. I carried it in my jacket pocket all through the war. He paused a bit and kind of looked up from his coffee. You know, though, when we were fighting and things got really bad, we were all brothers, and the Civil War ended over there. It took bad things, stuff we never talked about, to bring us all together. His voice trailed off, and he adjusted the LSU cap. Just at the moment my son and husband came within view around the corner. I said goodbye and gave him my card and walked out of Starbucks feeling I'd just put a new marble in my bag of marbles. A chance meeting with a nice man with his own interesting story to tell. I was a young girl when the Korean War was going on. As a matter of fact, I had rheumatic fever for 4 months and was bedridden, so my little radio was my best friend at that time, and I listened to the news a lot. But I only lived it at a distance through the radio and also television reports. But it had little impact on my life since none of my family were called into the draft. It's a shame how disconnected we can become when conflict is not in our own front yard, isn't it? If we can't see it, we don't have to feel it. To me, it was just something that was way back then. This encounter, this chance meeting in Starbucks for me, fortifies my belief that life is chock full of serendipitous moments. What I call grasshopper moment appears. It quickly hops into your life and then just as fast hops away unless you're smart or fast enough to catch them. In this instance, I was initially guilty of judging a book by its cover. But that good old boy, LSU ball cap, turned into be one of the most interesting heck of a guy. I'm so glad that I caught that grasshopper moment. I am in love with the guy who was painting my house. It was back in about 2006. Well, I wasn't in love in a love way, but in sort of a if I were only 18 again way. When I saw my painter balancing 2 stories high on a ladder with a paint can held by one finger, I was convinced painting houses was just his hobby. There was no doubt in my mind that on his real work days, he was in the ring giving a slam dunk to his WWF opponent. 3 men could have inhabited his muscular body, and there still would be extra room. His biceps were as bigger than my husband's waist, and his dark hair on his head was even higher. And the most attractive asset of all, what do you think? He was young. What more could a woman want? I fantasized while loading the dishwasher for the millionth time, my B12 pill melting on my tongue without water because the dishwasher was still attached to the sink faucet, the hose connected one to the other. And never mind the herbal conditioner that was aimlessly dripping down the side of my neck from underneath my ratty old plastic shower cap and right onto my robe. The Rock, or whatever his name was painting my house. What caused me to begin to lose my white head you ask? Well, it started when my husband sourly suggested he was becoming unnerved by my listening to my classical music all day long. He turned off the radio and immediately put on a couple of rock CDs by his favorite artist, my son. Well, Emerson does create great music, but the soothing sounds of violins and cellos, sometimes they just help me carry through the mundane tasks of the day. You know, I've always categorized my life in music phases. How about you? The Four Aces, Bill Haley, and Elvis, they represented my adolescent memories. Johnny Mathis, Montevani, and Peter, Paul, and Mary, my baby-raising years. Kiss, Springsteen, Buffalo Springfield, and anything else that my three teenagers played at that raising teenager high decibel levels represent my, whatever years. And now, this seemingly useless information that I've shared with you about music taste segues us back to the rock. Who was painting my house? Now, you understand I really didn't fall really in love with the rock. I fell in love with the dichotomy between his physical age, his appearance, and what do you know? His taste in music. All day long, the rock listens to his portable radio. He never has more than 5 feet away from his ladder. And the music that filters through my windows brings me back to my teenage life. To my amazement, the music of the 50s is the music that makes rock's heart beat. And it's his taste in music that I love. And it is his music that makes me feel alive again by sparkling anew the excitement of finding teenage love in a time and a life once lived. When his work was done and the rock and his radio drove down the road, I remembered I missed the journey of the music he has provided. So in the end, in reality, I guess it's not all about youth and muscles or the rock's plentiful hair. And it's not about painting either. It's about the comfortable memories and the ability to dream in your fuzzy slippers.